Okay, yeah, well, I think we will get started. So, everyone that's here, thank you so much for being here. We have an incredible panel today with really just some experts in Nostr. So, we're very fortunate that Derek, Marko, Jeroen, and Patrick are here. Hey, George. And so, I was very grateful to be able to go to Nostriga this summer. And so I've been really just looking forward to this discussion. I know it's a Bitcoin club, but this has probably been one of the meetings I've been most looking forward to having. Hey, Shichen. And also, I didn't really realize this until pretty recently, but I guess the manifesto was published for Nostr by Fiat Joff on November 20th, and the first kind of code was written November 7th. We're having this at a very opportune time celebrating those I guess 5 and 4 year anniversaries. And so for context for everyone here, this is kind of like being in Bitcoin in 2013, 2012, 2013-ish. So we're very early. And for some additional context, in that initial manifesto, Fiat Joff wrote, and I just pulled the quote, but he described Nostr as the simplest open protocol that is able to create a censorship-resistant global social network once and for all. So today we're going to talk about Nostr and how we're kind of going to set the world free again, to quote Max DeMarco in the video or documentary that he produced. So I will kick us off with some questions, but then everyone here, if you have any questions, feel free to ask throughout, and we'll also save some time for Q&A towards the end. But to get us started, I think if each of you would mind just introducing yourself, how you contribute to Nostr right now, and really what resonated to you about Nostr and why you now are helping build it. So maybe I will just start with Derek, and then we can just go around if that works.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Ella. My name's Derek. I joined Nostr almost 2 years ago. Next month it'll be 2 years, and I was drawn to Nostr because of its correlation with the Bitcoin ethos. The two are completely separate, but they have a lot in common in their ethos about being able to be empowering freedom technology, being able to be in control of your own data, your own social transactions, similar to being in control of your own financial transactions and being sovereign over your wealth. So they have a lot of correlations. I like to say they have a beautiful symbiotic relationship together, and that really drew me into Nostr. Over the past 2 years, I guess I've done a lot for Nostr. I run NostrPlebs.com. It's a Nostr service provider. I have an app, Nostr Nests. Nostr Nests is a Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse alternative built on Nostr, so you can do audio chats and live podcasts, things like that. That's my app, and then also I run multiple relays. But I would say probably I'm most well known for going around to various Bitcoin conferences and Nostr conferences, doing onboarding and talking about why I believe Nostr is important for the world, and just doing general growth and onboarding for Nostr.
Thanks, Eric. Maybe Jeroen, go over to you.
Hi, my name is Jeroen. I'm from the Netherlands. I first heard about Nostr about 2 years ago when I heard Preston Pish interview William Catherine, who built the Nostr app Damus. He explained much of what Derek just explained, and to me that just clicked. I thought, well, I want to check this out. I want to be a part of this. And then in the new school year, starting that September last year, I had the opportunity to work with a startup because I did a study in entrepreneurship and business innovation. So I figured, well, this is a perfect opportunity to study and maybe help out with some Nostr projects. So I worked with the Damus team for a year and performed like multiple pieces of research for them and some advice.
Maybe Patrick.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Patrick. I'm from Brazil. I'm an open source developer, and I have an interest in building technologies that can empower people. And more specifically, I work by building Ditto, developing Ditto with Alex Gleason. Ditto is basically a self-hosted Nostr server. So imagine that you can run Twitter and I can run Twitter, but we can communicate with each other in an interconnected way. But instead of being independent Twitter server, it's a Nostr server, so it has even more benefits than Twitter. So that's what I'm working.
Thanks. And I was really lucky, got to meet Patrick just by chance in the airport. So
Yeah,
it's fun how that
I saw
worked
your
out.
sticker in your laptop.
Yeah, I have a Bitcoin sticker like on the state of Texas, and Patrick was like, "Oh, must be going to the same place." So Marko, maybe you just introduce yourself and a bit about Primal.
Sure, yeah. My name is Marko. I'm a full stack developer currently working on Primal. Yeah, and I just kind of got into Nostr because my dad started this company called Primal a couple of years ago, and he asked me to come along and work for him, and I did, and it was just a project for me. I wasn't super interested. I was a Bitcoiner, but not super interested in Nostr yet, and I eventually learned to love Nostr. And I mean, one of the things that made me stay and start using it even more was Zaps for sure. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
yes. And did Zaps come in? Was that 2022? Did Will? That was Will, right?
February 2023.
Okay, 23. So maybe next question to get us started is if each of you could give like an elevator pitch about Nostr. You have someone who's never heard of it, you don't have much time, what do you tell them?
So I like to tell people two different things. The main thing is that it's a digital, social, portable identity that you can take with you across all your applications that you use. So you can have the same identity for all your different social apps that you want to use. And then if people don't think that's cool, then I say, well, Nostr allows you to be in control of your attention and your data. There's no rage algorithms. There's no ads that are trying to show you controversial content to keep you enraged and engaged. And it allows you to just be human and have true social interactions without software getting in the way.
Yeah, generally my elevator pitch is pretty different depending on who I'm trying to onboard. Like, I mean, I know for people around my age, they have no interest in leaving, their familiar Instagram and Twitter and stuff. But what I do normally do is I tell them about the awesome features that Nostr has that those familiar other social medias like don't, which is interoperability, open source, and being a protocol where you can use your own digital identity and interact freely across borders as well, and of course Zaps. So Zaps is a huge pitch for especially people my age. So yeah.
Yeah, actually the first time I sent sats to anyone in the club here, we just used Primal. It was easier. Like it was just much
That's
faster.
awesome.
People, that was their first touch point.
That's
I'm
great.
glad to hear. Yeah, that was our mission, to make it easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. Hey, Patrick or Jeroen.
Okay. When I try to convince someone to join Nostr, I usually try to explain people the current situation that they are in the sense that you have like a few group of people that you don't really know, and they control almost all the data that is flowing through the internet, and they can like just ban you with a blink of an eye, and all of your history and interactions is gone. So if Nostr, the control is back to you, so the responsibilities shift, and so the user has more empowerment and more freedom. So there is, I find it very important.
So when I have to explain it to somebody that's into Bitcoin, I usually say it's everything you love about Bitcoin, but for speech. But if I explain it to my friends, I usually explain them it's a communications protocol that is very easy to build on. Anyone with some knowledge about programming can build on it. You can use it, censorship resistant and private, giving you a choice of like the freedom of choice again.
And Jeroen, I might keep it on you for now because I believe you worked on kind of the admin and business side of Damus. Is that ish. So a lot of social media, how it works today is that they monetize the user through ads and selling their data. And so how does Nostr's model differ here? And maybe what are some challenges or the current thinking on how Nostr could monetize in the future? And just kind of anything on that discussion that you all were speaking about.
So because it's a protocol that anyone can build on, there's no fixed revenue model or business model. Any client can choose this for themselves. So you can still build a client which serves ads, but you can also choose to do a subscription model or a pay per usage, pay per node, per download, per time, or free.
Yeah. And I think, Derek, you've worked in tech for a long time, and I'm curious how Nostr really allows for innovation, whereas maybe it hasn't been possible in the past, just given that it's open source, that it's open, anyone can build as long as you're providing value. So could you maybe speak to how it really, empowers the individual and
Sure,
fosters innovation?
sure. So you asked about innovation and empowering people. So let's talk about developers and how the openness, benefits developers. Developers can build pretty much anything and work together, even though they're building their own application or their own feature. Nostr's very, very simple. It's not overly complicated. And this simplicity allows a multitude of people to build and collaborate together. So, for example, I can build an application, and if Primal likes something that my application has, they can implement it. Any application can implement it. And we can take all these different pieces from everybody's applications and everybody's services that everyone is individually building, allowing developers, to be these sovereign developers and build whatever they want to build. But if they build something that's cool and exciting, anybody can implement it. And so we all benefit from these cool features, even though all these applications are all different. Because it's an open protocol, any developer can implement any feature that somebody else was working on and grow their experience and make their application more powerful. And that's really unique. Like Twitter, uh, almost 15 years ago, you could do that kind of on Twitter, but most social platforms today are not open, and they don't allow these third-party applications to do that. They don't allow this type of innovation to flourish. And I think open protocols, open source software does exactly that. And it's just really unique and really exciting when you see all these people building together, even though they're not part of the same company or same tech organization. It's really wild. It's also like herding cats. I'm sure Jeroen could talk about that, but it's also really cool too.
Jeroen, do you want to expand on that? Some of the herding cats?
Yeah, a couple like a month ago, we did like a Nostr booth at a Bitcoin conference, but then I tried to assemble like a group of people that were passionate about doing this and going there and manning this booth, talking to attendees. But sometimes it can be a lot to get people together.
Yes, I bet. So still kind of on the innovation piece, I think from my understanding, a lot of emphasis thus far has been on the notes component of, notes and other stuff transmitted by relays. But what about the other stuff? What are some, cool innovations you're seeing there or just broadly that's being developed? And this is kind of for everyone, and you're also all different parts of the world, so maybe you're seeing different things in different areas.
I'm gonna put Marko on the spot, and do you want to talk
Yeah,
about Primal and Highlighter and all that DVMs and that kind of stuff?
yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, another cool thing that's coming to Primal soon and is already pretty solid on Highlighter is long form content, articles and such, and long form videos and anything you want is coming to Nostr. It's already on Nostr. It's existed for a while, but now we're really going to make it robust and make the UI clean, make the UX clean, and make it easy for users to get onto to long form content. And like Derek said, there's now DVMs, which are data vending machines, and this is also a brand new thing that's coming to Nostr. And people already use it. It's amazing. It's mainly made for creating your own feeds and you know having any type of content on Nostr whenever you want it. So there's no limitations to Nostr when it comes to content. I know generally speaking, clients focus on a Twitter type of shape and form, but now we're already starting to see quite a few different types of content. Like even for example, what we're using now with Zap.Stream, using Nostr to stream is another idea, and there's no limitations. It's amazing.
So I think a lot of people, whenever they hear about Nostr, they immediately think of like a Twitter alternative or a Facebook alternative, something like that. And as you mentioned, a lot of focus and emphasis, Ella, is on the kind one, like the social notes, the social posts. And I think that's probably because that's where the majority of people spend their days right now, and that is the most popular use case. Maybe that's the feature that we as a society need the most due to censorship happening. But if we really think about Nostr's capabilities, it's so much more than just a Twitter alternative, right? Like every single application, maybe not every single application, a vast majority of applications that we use have some type of social aspect, whether you're leaving a review for a car rental or an Airbnb or some forum post or some destination on Google Maps or something like that, like Yelp, whatever. Like these are all social aspects. And someday, maybe in the next couple of years, maybe kind one, the notes messages, maybe they won't be the most important. Maybe another app that is one of these other stuff applications will have millions of users, and it'll be the most exciting way to onboard somebody. So I think kind one notes are what we need most now, but that's kind of boring. Like that kind of stuff has been done, right? Like Nostr allows us to think outside the box and build these unique experiences that we don't really have yet.
Patrick or Jeroen, how about both of you? What's kind of something in the other stuff bucket that you are really excited about?
So the Nostr project I'm most excited about is called Nostr Rocket, and this project aims to separate business and state. So it will allow you to do business without a government enforcing contracts. This is very similar to GitHub, where all tasks are broken down into small tasks. You can contribute your work. Everybody that's ever contributed work to this project can like when you contribute work, you have to say, well, I want so many merits, and everybody has to vote whether your work is worth so many merits, and these merits give you the right on the income stream from this project, which is done over Lightning, and everything is communicated through censorship-resistant relays.
Wow, how far developed is that? That's really interesting.
It mostly works, though he's still ironing out some bugs. But he mostly needs people to test it.
Got it. And Patrick, how about you? Maybe chat a little bit about Ditto and what you all are doing there.
Sure. So, as Derek said, there's a lot of things that exist are social, and because of that, you can just bring Nostr to that. So, as far as idea goes, we can like get all the current established things and then like map to Nostr. So you can have like an Amazon that is based on Nostr. You can have YouTube based on Nostr, something I would like. And some things that are already being developed that I find interesting is custom algorithms. It's not that different because it's still focused mostly for like a Twitter-like experience, but I find that very interesting. The ability for users to create their own algorithms and share it and like modify and see. I find it's very cool. And yeah, Ditto is more like a Ditto experience type of thing where users can run their own server and then communicate with other servers, Ditto servers, and which is just an Nostr relay. So it's not that different from from the Twitter experience. It's like based on that. So I think that's it. There's plenty of ideas that we can just map to Nostr that are already established, and many
Right.
in also new ones that are not established but can emerge with Zaps, for example, like a very big crowdfunding platform. I don't Some already exists, but I think they are like Nostr can make more powerful.
Mhm. And Patrick, Derek brought up censorship, and I was curious if you, given you're in Brazil and they just lifted the ban on Twitter pretty recently, for people, a lot of people here in the audience who have never experienced censorship or repression of their voice, like really have all of the rights of freedom of speech, it can be hard to understand the value of a platform like Nostr. And so, how could you kind of explain just the importance of really protecting those rights, before you lose them, and building or starting to use Nostr, really understanding it early on?
Yes. So I wish I could answer you, but I can't because we don't have free speech. Just
Yes.
kidding. Basically, from what I feel from the outside, is that in America, free speech is sort of a more politicized, and like in that regard. But since in Brazil we don't have it, uh, in some people in America say that they should like ban it. And as a Brazilian, I wish that that I could have free speech, because right now, if you say some things, you can get fined or you can go to jail, or they can just ask for the big tax to ban you forever. So that's something very problematic. You're putting like a few group of people to decide who gets to talk and who doesn't, and most of the time those people are probably a bunch of psychopaths. So free speech is very good, but we can't really guarantee by law. So Nostr can sort of guarantee that because it's a censorship resistance. I don't know if that's if I answered well.
Yes, no, no, thank you, Patrick. So kind of on that note, and a thread we've been talking about is just how message, information, communication really underlies most of the services we use. And so then that opens up the opportunity to kind of rebuild the internet on top of Nostr as this open source protocol. But what do you all each see as the pathway for that really occurring? Is it just kind of the pain being felt by your rights all of a sudden starting to be repressed, experiencing censorship? Is it kind of on I guess, a pessimistic track of basically you're just forced into how do I alleviate a pain I'm feeling? Or is there kind of an optimistic, we just build a better parallel system and people move over?
Well, I think that governments and large tech companies continue to advertise Nostr's use cases and best
Yeah.
features, and we've seen that happen a lot recently. Most people, I would say, in the United States and probably a lot of Europe as well, don't really understand a lot of censorship. It's hard for people to see outside their social circles. It's hard for me to understand it. I don't really experience it. But there's like 37% of the world lives under authoritarian rule. So these are tools that a vast large amount of the population absolutely needs. And I think as tech companies continue to get more dystopian, as governments continue to tighten the grip, I think that Nostr's use cases are going to become more prevalent. And we're starting to see that, right? Like we just saw what happened in Brazil. The ban was lifted, but the fact that it could be done, and it was done, I think that these are going to be use cases to grow Nostr. I I think though that if you don't live under this type of these type of governments, these types of rule, it's hard for you to understand though, and I think that's where we're having trouble growing Noster, explaining to the people that hey, other people have different problems than you do.
And
Yeah.
and
Yes.
also to complement a little bit about what Derek said, So Twitter was banned in Brazil for about 50 days or something like that. And like one guy decided that he's like the big boss in Brazil. I can't really talk much about it, but okay, so he banned Twitter for like 50 days. And who's the current owner of Twitter? It's Elon Musk, the richest man on planet. So even if the richest man on planet with all these companies, all this money, all this power, uh, like can get censored for 50 days, what do you think they're going to do with the average population if they can criticize the government? So, you know, something very dangerous.
Yeah. And Jeroen, thanks for adding in the statistics from HRF on just how high it is that I think you said 75% live under some sort of authoritarian regime. And so kind of to touch on this, the importance that we know this is coming, as Patrick just said, if even one of the wealthiest people can't escape it, what does the average person do? So I think this is where it's really important for young people, the people in the room, people that'll be watching, to really learn about Nostr now. And also, if you're studying computer science or business or really anything, how you could see your contributions to this space. So what do you all think we can do to really attract young talent to contribute to Nostr as an open source protocol rather than go to Facebook or Google or some other big tech company? What is a compelling reason that you all think we could offer?
Uh, in my opinion, it has to do with purpose. If you just want to make money and be a normal developer, you can go work for these big companies. But if you care about purpose and empowering people and building a good future for yourself and also for your descendants and other people that will be born, then I think it's a good idea, to touch on that thing of purpose.
Yeah, purpose, definitely. But I will say,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
agree. Oh, go ahead, Marko. No.
No, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say also that for developers, like generally when they think of a product idea, the traditional route is to, create your own database and, go into building this whole backend system and all that, which with Nostr being open and having these relays, it's super simple for like a new developer to just like build the UI and just tap in to the relays. And with that, you'll already have content on your app, on your brand new app, and you're just going to be tapped into an existing protocol, which is very nice for developers to take advantage of.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually, Marko. Oh, sorry. Whoever
sorry.
was.
No, I was going to say, I think Zaps didn't probably take off as much as I had hoped. I'd always thought, maybe a year ago that Zaps were going to be the ultimate powerful onboarding tool, but saying that you can get paid for your content for creators. It probably didn't onboard as many people as I had hoped, but I still think that Zaps are really, really powerful to show that you can do a value exchange for your content. I think once people understand value for value a little bit more, I still think Zaps are going to be a powerful onboarding tool. We're literally seeing people that use Primal because it has the wallet built in. It makes it really, really easy. Yeah, shameless plug for Marko here, but but we see people like making a post on social media and then going and buying groceries with the money they got for posting something. Like that's wild. Like I swear once a lot of people realize that, oh, I'm an amateur photographer, I can go post cool photos, or I create something. No matter what kind of creator you are, the fact that you can create something and get a little bit of money for it, that's super cool. At least I think it's super cool. So I'm hoping that more people realize that, how easy it is. And as Bitcoin becomes more prevalent, and as it experiences number go up, it's going to be in the headlines, in the news, and more people are going to learn about it and hear about it. And I think it's a good time to be zapping people. They're going to be able to have more places to use their Bitcoin in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Marko, I was just going to ask you, we kind of glossed over the whole concept of relays, but maybe if we could just chat about that very briefly, like how I had sent everyone the like meme or image of basically like on one side, like the big like man person kind of controlling people by the algorithm, but then in Nostr, like if you control the relays, you can really control what you see and how you participate. But what are relays? What does this really mean? How does this work?
Yeah, essentially, a relay is some sort of a server, and this server can be self-hosted, and it can have all different types of, you know, different type of rules that you want it to have. And like you can make these relays extremely complex, or you can make them extremely simple. And a simple one would look like, post any type of content, post, anybody can connect to it, and anybody can post to it. And more complex would be, you can only, post certain types of content, only a certain amount of people can post, only a certain amount of people can connect. And but essentially what it is in Bitcoin terms, these would be like nodes, which makes it decentralized, and in Nostr terms, it would be the relays, which makes it decentralized. And anybody can stand up their own relay, which is amazing. And I very much encourage people to do that.
Yeah. And I think, Derek, I remember you talking about how like you have a relay just for kind of your family to keep information. So there's all maybe would you just touch on that
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yeah, I run a lot of different relays. So on my phone, I have a relay on my phone here, that basically makes a backup of all of the content that I'm posting on my phone. It's a local backup. But then as you mentioned, I have a family type relay where anybody that is in my family, which is my kids, which don't use Nostr, but they could, or my wife and I, we can publish our content to our relay. So it allows us to be in control of our content. And it also gives us a backup. So if for whatever reason all the major relays out there, they decide they don't like Derek and Katie someday and they want to censor us and they ban us from, 1,000 different relays because we're just mean people and we're banned everywhere, I can say that's okay. I don't care. I have a relay in my house and everybody connects to my relay to get all of my content and all my wife's content. So it allows us to be censorship resistant running our own relay. So it becomes a game of whack-a-mole. Like you really can't so much censor somebody on Nostr because you can always spin up your own relay or use somebody else's relay. So running your own relay gives you the power. Like Marko was saying, it's kind of like your own Bitcoin node. It's your own social rules instead of your own monetary rules, and nobody can censor you from your own relay.
Yeah, yeah. No, thank you for
But,
sharing that. Oh, so go
but, I
ahead.
think,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think it's important to add about the censorship resistant and relays is that there's a difference between the ability to speak and send your messages and the ability to not listen to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would, yeah. So you're talking about being in control of your own feed and muting, filtering whoever you want to. Right.
Yeah, instead of being shadow banned or censored by a large
Yeah.
company, it's very different from being muted by individuals that don't want to listen to you.
So maybe Jeroen and Patrick. So I was love, what do you think is a compelling reason for, young people to want to contribute to Nostr? And then also maybe second question, what steps do you recommend? Like what is step one that someone could do? I know Jeroen, you were saying how you were kind of in the school gap program and you were able to get involved. Patrick has basically self-taught himself everything, which is just incredible. So what's kind of a compelling reason and what is step one to get started?
So I'm not a programmer, but as far as I've heard, it's very easy to build on. It seems to me that most software engineers working on Nostr are building from altruistic motivation. All of these projects are open source, meaning that you can also contribute to anything that you find interesting. And almost all of them are willing to have a conversation with you and explain things to you. And you can learn a lot from very talented and properly motivated people.
Patrick?
Okay. So about the reason, I used to work in a shoe factory, so I'm gonna give a shoe analogy. So imagine that I am a owner of a company, and I send 2 employees to another country to see, which type of shoes they like. But in this country, actually, no one uses shoes. So the 2 employees come back to me, like I send them in separate days, and then one of them says, "Well, we can't sell there because they don't have shoes." And the other one says to me that we should buy more machines because they don't have shoes, so we're gonna sell a lot. Um, so with this analogy, it means that you know there's a market to explore, and I think the same happens with Bitcoin. And since Nostr is an early stage and it's very powerful, I think that we are sort of in a new renaissance, like a technology renaissance of freedom. So I think that's a good reason, because it's in an early stage. So if you start working with it and then it starts to grow more, you will be ready when the wave gets big. It's like developing Bitcoin when it first started out some years ago. Something valuable in that sense. And
Yeah.
about the steps, I think you need to have a little knowledge of programming and read the NIP one. Hold on, my cat's trying to enter my room. Hold on.
And the internet loves cats. Like, I'm not surprised this is happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So about the steps, you need to have a little knowledge of coding if you want to be a developer, right? You can be like a designer or other things, but I'm a developer. So um, you go to the Nostr GitHub repository. There's a NIP one. So NIP stands for Nostr Improvement Proposals. It's very similar to what we have in Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin Improvement Proposals. And the NIP one describes how the protocol works. And then you read that. It's very short. It's very easy to understand. Essentially, you have your private key and you write something, then you sign it. There's a kind assigned to it, to this note, to this thing you wrote. And then you can, and now that you know how the basics work and you have a little knowledge of coding, then the sky's the limit. You can try to build your own apps. You can try to join current existing teams. Like, I don't know, say you like Primal and you can send them a message, see if they have a job opportunity, or start with some friends. So it's too broad. So it really depends on what you want to do. But the sky's the limit.
And where would you find people? I guess probably step one, just, get onboarded to Nostr. You can find people there. But are there Nostr meetups like there are in Bitcoin, with Bitcoin meetups in lots of different cities, or is part of the community developed yet?
I think Derek knows a little bit more than that than me. There's a conference of Nostr that happens every year, and they are discussing now when the next one is going to be. There's a guy that he did a presentation in Nostr Riga, and he was talking about having like groups of study like in our personal in our city, but I didn't really saw his project, so I can't really say about it. But I think Derek can say way better than me in this topic.
Yeah, so since there's no central entity that controls Nostr, anybody is open to have a meetup, just like Bitcoin. So we were just talking about, like Patrick was just mentioning, these larger conferences. There's been 3 of them, but there's been tons of smaller meetups. There's been several in Europe. I mean, I just had one in central Pennsylvania a month ago. Last month, or I'm sorry, like 2 weeks ago, maybe, or a week ago, there was one in Nashville. There's going to be one in Austin next month. They're happening. There's been some out in Phoenix, Arizona. We're talking about having one in St. Louis right now. So they are happening. They're not as many because there's not as many people that are using Nostr compared to Bitcoin. But yeah, if you're a Nostr user and you're passionate about Nostr, go ahead and start a meetup in your local vicinity. I mean, there was people that flew all over the country to come to Nostr Valley in central Pennsylvania last month. I was blown away about the amount of people that came to my little neck of the woods. It was crazy. So there's people that are passionate that want to talk about Nostr and grow Nostr. So build it, and if you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah, for sure. So then maybe Derek and Marco, what if someone's, you have someone who wants to come participate, what is a piece of advice you would have as someone begins their journey to contribute to Nostr, and that maybe they can carry with them throughout the journey?
Well, as a developer, if you're starting, definitely what Patrick said about reading the official Nostr documentation on GitHub and learning about NIP1 and really understanding the foundational Nostr like protocol, how it works is a really good way to start. And for non-developers, I mean, creating an account, exploring many of the clients that already exist out there. There must be like 100 now. And that'll offer you ideas for enhancements where they feel they need to or where they could contribute to and stuff. So yeah, just go out there and explore and post quality content. That's as much as I could say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that because we are so early with Nostr and we have direct lines to developers that you don't have on like Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Like if you have a problem with these applications, you're not going to call up Elon Musk and be like, "Hey, dude, can you fix this?" Like that doesn't happen. That's just not going to happen. But on Nostr, this can actually happen. If you experience a problem or you have an amazing use case you would like to see implemented, you can talk to developers directly. You can submit issues on GitHub, and you can comment on different new NIPs, new implementation possibilities. You can comment on them and help shape and help build the future of Nostr, even if you're not a developer. And then, as Marco said, content is king. So create some type of content. There's tons of people out there that are content starved and want to reward creators. So it doesn't matter what you want to create. If you just want to create some memes or make people laugh, keep people entertained, you can do that. If you want to do videos, if you are passionate about educating people on Nostr, like once you understand what Nostr is and you want to educate, you can take that upon yourself to start a podcast, put out resources. There's tons of opportunities in the early days to help build and to help shape Nostr. Or if you don't create anything, or you're not a developer, create your local meetup, build your local community on Nostr, help do onboarding, to your community, grow your flock that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
We should
I also
definitely.
find it. Sorry, I also find it
Yeah.
helps to onboard. Like it's generally easier to onboard Bitcoiners, and there are tons of Bitcoin meetups, as we all know. So if you're super passionate about Nostr and you're looking for ways to contribute, just go to a Bitcoin meetup and onboard people like those. Those people are super curious about open source, protocols like this. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. I think definitely the main user group is probably a lot of Bitcoiners, but do you all have a sense of what's like the second big? Is there another big community, or I don't know if you can even have a sense of that?
Artists, maybe musicians, or I think that we have a strong art community. There's a lot of creators out there that recognize value for value, but I'm most excited about musicians. I think that musicians are a group of people that have been taken advantage of by major corporations, labels, record labels, streaming platforms, for years, and they're making money through different applications on Nostr like Zap.Stream and Tunester and Wavelake, Fountain, these other stuff areas of Nostr. Like they're streaming and putting their content on it, and they're making money. So I think that's a decently large community. The creator, musician, and artist. After that, maybe permies. We have a lot of permies out there.
Also
Yeah,
Permaculture people.
activists,
Activists,
human
yeah,
right
activists, yeah.
activists, yeah,
Can't
free
forget
speech
them.
advocates and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? So all
yeah,
types of different communities.
yeah. Well, I promised that I would save time for Q&A from other people here, so I might turn it open to everyone in the audience if you all have any questions or points of clarification that you wanted to go back on. And I also realized I forgot to turn on the video, so one second, let me do that.
Oh man, we're gonna be able to see the room. I love it.
Sorry, I
That's
meant to.
awesome.
No, this is great.
Okay, now you can see people.
Yeah, now we
Sorry.
can see.
Yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Let me do a little.
We could have been popping like PVs back and
Yes.
forth the whole time, shakas and everything.
But now you can see. And also David and Kevin, if you all have any questions. So David's in Canada, Kevin's in Taiwan. You all are more than welcome to ask questions as well. Oh, Sal, yeah.
Thank you
You
all
can
for
say
being
it.
here. Super interested. Quick question on my end, and I wrote it here. What is sort of the strategy, or what is the hope when it comes to this amazing technology, promising technology, particularly for societies that maybe have low technology penetration, like emerging markets? We're talking about 26% of people in low-income countries use the internet compared to high-income countries where it's 90%. So folks don't even in those countries don't even have technology, right? So not only that, but a lot of these countries tend to be under oppression, dictatorship. So I saw that China banned Nostr from the Apple Store. It was supposed to be expected in 2023. What is the vision? How do we reach the folks that need this at scale outside of the US and Brazil? I mean, really emerging nations. We'd love to get sort of the perspective, right? The long-term goal.
Well, so I don't know if this will entirely answer your question, but what's interesting about the Chinese ban that happened in February of 2023 when China banned the Damus application from the App Store in China, that made headlines, that raised awareness. As I said earlier, like governments and tech companies are going to continue to advertise for Nostr. So that ban made it automatically known to a whole entire group of people that never heard of it before. But what's interesting about that as well is that it demonstrated the need for Nostr because something was banned, but then it also directly advertised how Nostr is censorship resistant because one app was banned, but there's tons of other applications out there. There's tons of other websites out there. The Chinese government has also banned multiple Nostr relays, but this is this game of whack-a-mole, is that new relays constantly are popping up. And the most interesting thing about the Chinese ban is that there could be entire ecosystems of relays running behind the Chinese firewall that are communicating together, and we would never know about it. We can't communicate with them, but they might have their own pocket of Nostr. So I think in that regard, anytime a government would ban Nostr, they're literally having the Streisand effect, showing the need for Nostr. Uh, but beyond that, I don't really have a good a a good sense of how to penetrate into these areas besides doing the local meetups.
Derek, I was last week listening to a panel, and I think there's actually tons and tons of like Chinese Bitcoin developers who are all on Nostr.
Yeah.
And Roger Huang, who wrote the book Would Mao Hold Bitcoin, he basically, I guess, was able to query all of their posts, and then he translated it, and it was really funny. A lot of the comments were exactly the same, like that you see like in the US, talking about money supply and all sorts of stuff. So it's interesting to see the different communities, but the
Yeah.
similarities that are
Yeah,
there.
well, there's like small little pockets of different user groups. There's like Thailand has a very vibrant community. Japan has a vibrant community. There's like Chinese users. There's Brazilian users. There's all these little groups all over the world that are slowly coming online with Nostr.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add also that I think it's inevitable that Nostr will become one of the main ways of using the internet in the foreseeable future. And like we can keep talking about censorship resistance and all that stuff for a long time, but the main reason is because of how open it is. Um, like for example, the feed marketplaces is an idea that's most exciting for me in the Nostr world right now. Like, in this project, users or communities could create independent moderation feeds where each of these feeds have their own rules and filtering standards and criteria for moderation. And that just gives the user so much power. And if there is enough content, there would be no reason for people to continue using, you know, these closed source products like Instagram and Twitter. You know, like if somebody realizes that you have all the power on what you see, what content you're looking at all the time, then why would you use anything else? You know, that's why I believe it's inevitable that this is for sure going to be the way that people use the internet from now on.
Sure. Yeah, David, go ahead. David? Maybe. He's not muted. Let's see. Okay, well, David, if you can hear us, or, you know, feel free to just speak anytime
Can
you
anyone
want.
hear me?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Yes. Yeah. Hello. So I have a question. Would you ever want to think that, because I noticed that many countries, especially in Europe and some in North America, are increasingly heading towards the authoritarian model of internet. Like they're following the China way. Like, so do you think that would like push increase adoption for like an open source and unstoppable platform like Nostr?
Well, that's the general thought, I believe, is as governments tighten grips, you know, different groups of people and large groups of people start to wake up to this and realize that it's not good and look for alternative methods to communicate. Like every time something happens in the news, there's a new friend or family member that, you know, gets a hold of me. It's like, hey, should I not use Telegram, or thing, you know, things like that. And I just think that we're going to continue to see this. And Nostr, you know, like as the different countries maybe have a tighter grip on internet access, like it's really hard to ban Nostr, especially when a lot of relays can be accessible over Tor. And even some clients have Tor built in now, like Amethyst has Tor built in and turned on by default. It's really wild. So we can have this whole peer-to-peer Tor powered, you know, Nostrverse. Tor might need to get a little bit more robust, but that's another conversation. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. I think that we're going to keep seeing Nostr grow as governments do things that the people don't like.
Another problem I see is I think has to do with marketing, because like Nostr is good, but I don't think people like know that it's good or that it exists. For example, when Twitter was banned in Brazil, like Blue Sky got like 7 million users or something like that. So I think I think we are missing somehow a way to market more. But I know nothing about marketing, so I think it's just an open problem.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Sky is like a Dino. They're decentralized in name only. Like they're not as decentralized as they say they are, because they are a centralized entity. They have marketing teams, and they're a media darling. Like Nostr is really the underdog. Nostr is never
Yeah,
mentioned when a news article comes up as a
yeah.
alternative, right? Like it's never mentioned. So we have a large uphill battle in that regard. Absolutely, David said in the chat, we need a marketing department, and that's something that I love. Like that's something that I've been working on, and I love to do that, to do Nostr growth and onboarding.
Another thing is like somebody said earlier, I think it might have been Patrick, but like Nostr for the most part generally works. And you know, like I don't know if Nostr would have been ready for 7 million different users to join all at once
Yeah.
within 50 days, you know. So well, I think one of the main focuses on Nostr now, since it's so early, is, you know, really polishing up the protocol, polishing up all the clients, and, you know, being ready for large user growth for the next huge Brazil thing to happen, and like being ready to market it properly and onboard everybody. And I truly do believe that once we do that, they're not going to leave. And it's funny when these big things happen, like China banning different platforms in Brazil. It really is unintentional advertising for us. Like for example, like when Elon went out a couple of years ago and posted on Twitter You are not to post on Twitter about any of these other types of like social media. And he named like Blue Sky, right? He named a few different like big projects. And then at the bottom there's Nostr, and there was like 3 people on Nostr at the time. They're like, the 3 people on Nostr, like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, so yeah, like these people are unintentionally advertising Nostr, and it's just because they know that it's good and that it's coming, like it's inevitable.
They're afraid.
Oh, sorry, Patrick. What'd you say? I think I
No,
missed that.
they are afraid.
Oh. Well, does anyone else have maybe a final question? We're almost at 7, and I'm gonna help everyone kind of get onboarded to Nostr, if that's something they'd like to do, and maybe, you know, they can connect with you all there. But is that kind of the best place to send people if they wanted to stay in touch?
Absolutely. When they make their first Nostr post, use hashtag introductions so we can find you and zap you.
Okay, we will do that. But thank you all so much, Patrick and Jeroen and Marko and Derek. And also I have to thank Marce because she really helped connect us all. But just so glad that we can do this, and very grateful for everything that you all do and your time tonight.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marseille, for connecting us. Love Marseille.
She's the best.
Thanks, Marseille, and thanks, Ella. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you a lot.
See you guys.
Thanks. Bye, Patrick.